Isabel Bishop. I am the graduate assistant at the Diamond Eagle Student Resource Center, and I'm a PhD candidate in the Philosophy and Religion Department at UNT.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We're on day 5 of people not getting their SNAP benefits for this month. How has that affected the UNT Food Pantry directly?
So we currently haven't seen like a change in our numbers. All students at UNT are only allowed to use the food pantry once per week. So we're currently like in talks with the Dean of Students office to see if we can change that, to have students who are already enrolled in SNAP use the pantry more often, or figure out another way that we can support them. But on the other hand, so we work with the Tarrant Area Food Bank. We get a lot of our food for free from the food bank. They operate out of Tarrant County, but they deliver food to us. And yeah, the suspension of SNAP nationwide has put significant strain on food banks across the country, which are kind of loosely work together through the organization Feeding America. So there's been a lot of stress on the organizations that support us. So we'll have a delivery from them tomorrow, so we'll see if the amount of food that we are actually getting from them will be impacted. And then we also have a mobile pantry this Friday, where we also get a delivery of food for them, and hopefully that one isn't impacted either, but we're still kind of waiting to see the repercussions happen. Yeah.
And interesting is the government shutdown on today is the 30, I don't know, over 30 days, and SNAP card not give money to go to grocery store like Walmart. How UNT Food Pantry respond, not only the student but also their family?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, we're entering month 2 of the government shutdown. SNAP benefits as of yesterday were partially funded, but it's unclear when that money is going to come to people enrolled in SNAP. So it could take weeks, it could take months. So I think the repercussions of the suspension of SNAP we're going to be seeing far beyond just this week. As far as our food pantry, as I was kind of saying earlier, we have not in the past 3 days changed what we're doing quite yet, but we are trying to figure out other ways that we can support students, because our resources are also limited. So trying to figure out ways that maybe we can partner with other parts of campus. I have an idea to partner with dining, which we haven't acted on yet, but hopefully could get going eventually. Where was I going with this? But yeah, so I guess luckily we have our mobile food pantry, so we already had these scheduled. We have them on the first Friday of every month. This one just happened to fall this week when SNAP benefits started to be withheld, so the timing is good, despite kind of the urgency of the situation. And our mobile food pantry, so the UNT food pantry is only for UNT students, but mobile food pantries are for anyone in the Denton community. You don't have to have a UNT ID. So we are expecting for our numbers to be up. So right now that's kind of our main, we're hoping to try to get the word out to as many Denton organizations as well as UNT campus people. So right now that's kind of our first step, but yeah, we're on our way to figuring out what other things UNT can do to support students specifically who've been using SNAP. Yeah.
Hi. So there are a lot of students that need support, food-wise, that don't come to the food pantry, whether they feel it's embarrassing or whatever. What would you say to them that might convince them otherwise?
Well, I would say that, it's, if people are experiencing food insecurity or economic insecurity more broadly, that is, our society has taught us that that's a personal fault, but my argument would be that that is a structural problem and not something that we as individuals should be embarrassed about. And utilizing the services that any institution that you're affiliated with provides, is a way, I think, of I don't know, supporting yourself, but also in using those services, you meet other people who are interested in problems of equity. So when you go to those places, right, when you go to a food pantry or a food bank or a free clothing closet, the people, I would say oftentimes, at least in my experience, that you encounter and engage with are all there because they care that everyone has something to eat, everyone has clean clothes to wear, everyone has a place to sleep. And those are, all of those kind of human needs are basic fundamental needs, and the fact that we don't understand those as fundamental human rights in this country shouldn't be, you know, a way that we kind of like look down on or feel embarrassed about the situations that we're in. Yeah.
Studies show a link between social, ecological, and socio-cultural characterizations.
Could you speak up just a little bit?
Yeah. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Studies show a link between social, ecological, and socio-cultural characterizations of utilization of food pantry material between African American and Hispanic and Latino students. How does UNT address the cultural aspects of food insecurity?
Yeah, so there's definitely something called cultural food insecurity, which is different from just kind of like regular food insecurity. Regular, what I'm calling regular, or just like plain food insecurity is lack of access to like safe, healthy, affordable food on a consistent basis, and usually that is on from an economic perspective. But cultural food security means having access to your cultural foods, right? The things that you are familiar with, that your family cooked, oftentimes the things that bring us comfort. So at UNT, actually, a significant number of our patrons in the food pantry are international students. Many of those students are from India in particular. So we try our best, again, with our like limited resources, to have at least some of the items that can like help with cultural food insecurity. So stocking vegetarian items, stocking like white meat and fish rather than red meat or pork. And then a kind of new initiative that we're working on, trying to like reallocate funding to specifically start a spice section in our pantry, right? Because of course, like, yeah, there's a bare minimum of like having enough food to eat in a day, but also, yeah, cultural food insecurity is important. Like spices are important to like be able to create certain dishes and certain like affects that come with eating a certain dish. So while, you know, spices might not be like caloric, I think it's a really important aspect of something that we're trying to get going in the pantry. But again, like as we're reliant so much on the food banking system, so the Tarrant Area Food Bank in particular in our area, this can be a little bit difficult. But yeah, other than like kind of doing those kinds of initiatives where we keep rice, we keep different meats and vegetables.
You were saying earlier something about like a dining collab. Like you were talking. Could I ask more about like what do you exactly mean by that, or like what were you hoping?
Yeah.
When you say that?
Yeah. So I just reached out yesterday about this. So who knows what's gonna happen? But yeah. So my idea, and I am the lowly graduate student, so who knows what the bureaucracy will say to me. But we are housed under the Dean of Students kind of like office, Division of Student Affairs, and my hope is that we can partner with dining. Dining, I don't know how much you guys know about UNT Dining, but it's kind of like own for-profit institution within UNT. Maybe not a great way of describing it, but they have to make a profit, right? They have to like make their numbers work. So that's one problem that we might encounter, but my idea is that DOS partners with dining to give out free meal tickets for students already enrolled in SNAP. So any student at UNT who is previously enrolled in SNAP and no longer has access to their benefits, that they can come to either our office or the Dean of Students office to get some free meal tickets for the week. So while this doesn't this doesn't provide groceries for students, it does potentially help students at least not have to worry about the stress of a couple meals per week. It also doesn't put additional stress on the food pantry and on Tarrant Area Food Bank with our already kind of stressed resources. And then also, given UNT's mission of student success and support, and then like one of our values is like we care, right? Trying to have this allegedly people first, approach, that any kind of, I don't know, profit loss that dining would potentially experience, although I imagine the numbers of students using free dining tickets would be negligible compared to the profits that they make, that in either case that we should be putting people over profits in this instance, especially when UNT is a major institution and should be able to support hungry students through different kinds of initiatives. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I just pitched that yesterday, so I haven't gotten a response yet. Fingers crossed. Oh.
Okay, give it a minute. Wait until the plane goes by. Not even a minute, a few seconds.
So the continued shutdown of the government, what would that mean for the stability of food banks?
Yeah, it's very bad. I guess is the shorthand. So not only, perhaps not so much in Denton in our area, but definitely kind of like in the DC area where there's a lot of federal workers, a high volume of them. Food banks and food pantries. So I guess let me just clarify. Food pantries, as we have here, are like a smaller resource. They rely on food banks. Food banks, as banks keep all of the food, collect all of the food, and then distribute to smaller pantries. And that network, Feeding America, is the major food banking network in the United States. So the food banks and food pantries around the DC area are already under significant stress because federal workers aren't getting paid, right? It's been over a month. They've missed over 2 paychecks now. So people can't feed their families. So it's already causing significant stress in specific areas of the country. But if this is to continue, and again, as I said earlier, like it's not clear when the partial SNAP payments are going to come through either, people are going hungry. Nearly 42 million Americans receive SNAP benefits. This is something like 1/8 of our population. It's not clear. SNAP benefits have also never been suspended in any government shutdown, so it's not exactly clear what the impact is going to be, but the stress on food banks is going to continue, right? Like, and I don't know, unless like, I'll stop there. Yeah. I think you asked a question. We'll have a couple other people ask first. Yeah.
I'd say through your experience and just what you've encountered so far as the food pantry coordinator, how would you say that in general food insecurity impacts the lives of students?
I'm sure all of you have been hungry in class before, right? Like on kind of a basic level, even if you haven't skipped multiple meals, just like being a little hungry in class can be extremely distracting. But when hunger compounds, right, that it creates like physical difficulties, right? You might not sleep well, you can't focus. You're also stressed about not just getting your schoolwork done, but also where your next meal is going to come from. There's a statistic, I think this is a couple years old, so I don't know how these numbers have changed, but across universities in the US, something like 30% of all college students are food insecure, which is a huge number. It's definitely, right, it's a negative impact on students when students are at university to learn, right? Not to be stressed economically or to have to work 3 jobs in order to get through school. And obviously these problems are all linked to larger structural problems, in the United States, not to mention like unaffordable education. So,
What's the biggest piece of feedback you've received from a student accessing the pantry?
That we don't have anything. That one always sucks to hear. There are days, obviously, that our stock is going to be lower than others. I think we do a survey at the end of every semester for our patrons to try to get as much feedback as we can and like respond to that in any ways that we can. It's always disheartening when students are like, well, you're not really helping me. And I think in part that is because of the size of our pantry, the scale of our staff, like how many staff members we have, and then our yeah, like the funding that we get for the pantry all comes from Kroger. We get a grant from Kroger through their Zero Hunger Zero Waste Foundation, and that's great. That helps us. But aside from the space that we work in, the UNT doesn't like fund the food pantry in any way. So, yeah, I think like fixing sort of the institutional support could help us expand our programs and therefore like deal with some of the student comments. But yeah, that one's probably the worst. Yeah. Yeah.
What role does the data or feedback from students play in shaping in how the pantry is run?
Yeah, like I said, every semester we do a survey for sure. We have a message board in our office that students are like always welcome to write, like if they have specific questions, like when are you gonna have peanut butter again or something. So it plays a large role in how we try to figure out, what we need to change, what we need to, bolster, what we need to get rid of. Yeah, so we try to be like very sensitive to students, right? Because we're serving people's basic needs, and we are certainly not trying to make a profit, obviously. So yeah, it's very central.
We have time for about 4 or 5 more questions. So if you haven't had a chance to ask, this is the time, including you guys down here.
So, what role do you think other universities or even this UNT should play in helping with food scarcity, like tuition-wise or like student working-wise and meal plans?
Yeah, that is a tough question. I think like this could be answered or attended to on multiple levels. Again, there's this whole problem of like the general cost of education in this country, right? So not just like on an institutional basis, but like the entire structure of higher education in the United States, which we like don't fund through tax money, right? So we don't make it affordable for people. People have to take out loans, which causes more financial stress. But then there's also the problem of food deserts, or what some scholars call food apartheid. So like in the UNT area, like we don't have, the closest grocery stores are going to be on university, right? Those aren't immediately accessible to students, especially if you don't have a car. Even if you have a bike, it's dangerous to get there. So, as universities across the country are expanding, and, UNT President Keller at the beginning of this year put out like his view for the next 5 years or whatever, and wants to grow the university like by 3 times or something. And as they're buying up property around, as our campus grows, right, as they're buying up more and more property, there are less opportunities for there to be a grocery store or a food co-op close to campus. I want to also say that I don't think the solution to food insecurity is more grocery stores, but given the current context, it's at least a start for students, right? It's not the answer, but it could be at least a help in the interim. So, yeah.
What personally drove you to start working at the pantry and keep working at the pantry?
Yeah. So this is my second year as the graduate assistant here. I ultimately, what first drove me here, or to even look for a job, I was funded by the philosophy department. My funding was 5 years long. My funding ended, so I was a teacher. So I needed to get my tuition covered, and I needed to get a stipend. But I had already worked with the Diamond Eagle Student Resource Center on different sustainability workshops, and they were hiring, so I was excited to apply, also because my research in the philosophy department is generally about our food system in the United States. So it's in particular about supermarkets and how they shape our relationships to food. And then a significant portion, it actually talks about food banks and food pantries and how our for-profit food system is fundamentally unethical, because food is a human right. And yeah, so all of those things kind of came together and made this position like very exciting for me. And I was able to stay on for a second year. So, yeah.
How can UNT students that want to help get involved today?
Yeah, so students, any UNT student, staff, faculty, can volunteer at the pantry. We always need volunteers, stocking, checking people out. Same with the mobile pantries once a month. We need volunteers there to help us load the tables and get things given out. If students, staff, faculty, families are financially able, we also accept monetary donations. We also accept donations of food and of clothes, gently used clothes. Also a good thing for students to keep in mind when y'all are like moving out of dorms or apartments and there's stuff you don't want in your pantry, instead of throwing it away, you can always take it here. So yeah, definitely volunteering is like the first primary way, but yeah. Yeah, in the back.
Looking 5 years ahead, what worries you most about the direction of student food insecurity, and what have you helped?
Yeah. My worry is that it's just going to continue to get worse, because it seems many of our, I don't know, affordability is obviously a major issue, right? It just won in New York last night. Issues of affordability spoke to over half of New York's population. But my worry is that that isn't going to be replicated on a national scale. I don't know, that people are worried about a broad-based economic political policy that would support the expansion of affordability policies in the United States. So yeah, my primary worry is that things are already precarious and it's going to get worse. But I'm a little cynical, so I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
Outside of UNC dining, what institutions are you guys looking to collab with?
Because so right now we are in negotiations with Kroger on another grant. So our grant is like expiring at the end of this year. It was a 5-year grant. We're working on negotiations for another 5-year grant. If we are awarded that one, then we will primarily be working with Kroger because of the kind of confines of the grant. That kind of restricts other organizations that we'll work with. But other than that, we'll work with like student groups, environmental groups as well. As we are not only the basic needs department, but also this is the functioning as the sustainability department at UNT. So we'll kind of partner with other ecologically oriented organizations, and then yeah, Tarrant Area Food Bank for sure. Yeah.
The last question. Everybody got any question? Okay, there. Any